Well, about that time for another video blog about my job or trying to get a job at G4. Months after I've started and nothing yet. But no cease and desist, so if I'm persistent, if I don't, totally alienate the guys at G4 or make them think twice about it, who knows, it might happen. I'm just still of the opinion that they need money. So, or that they're kind of struggling for cash a little bit. They have enough in their budget to do these, skits, so they're still doing an amazing job, entertainment-wise. G4 is, because Attack of the Show had a lot of funny, or recently they've been able to put together some pretty good skits, and even X-Flight, they're able to do it as well. So, yeah, I don't think they're not doing, too bad, over there. But I still think that they could, expand their repertoire of shows, in my opinion. They got a new show out called The Block. I watched that tonight. And it's a reality show. So, like all, it's what'll work out in G4's favor for The Block is that it's snowboarding, it's a lifestyle, it's reality TV. So those three things mixed together should, draw in an audience, and reality TV is, the cheapest shows you can make. So, and it does look pretty simple in how they're doing it. It's just normal. I think it's interesting how what is it, Frank Montoya, the guy behind Block. It's interesting. I guess it's more or less his brother-in-law who runs a motel, and so I believe his name is Tito. So Tito and Mark were talking about it, and since Mark's a professional snowboarder, and his brother-in-law runs this motel, and they normally get snowboarders in there, they brought an idea. Hey, let's sell this idea for a show of a bunch of snowboarders here. So yeah, and it looks like it just may work out. So I hope that show does work out for them, and gain them some notoriety, or bring in some good money for them. If anything. What else? The number of people coming into or who are frequenting the Attack of the Show forums is steadily increasing, and that I believe is for a number of reasons. One is that just the profile of the show is it's in that niche because of the live show on the Pacific Coast, and it shows at 4 p.m. On the East Coast is airing at 7 p.m. But essentially, kids, and young adults all across the country are able to watch it, or they'll be able to come across it, one way or another. And but something I was thinking about is that why isn't, or how come G4 hasn't gone to the point where they are uploading their shows to YouTube or even Google Video? I mean, because you would assume that since Attack of the Show airs so many YouTube videos that, and in some way you can almost say that there must be some unspoken agreement between G4 and YouTube. And if not, you would assume so. It's like, because who is the biggest promoter for YouTube, and it's got to be G4, especially with their Daily Nut and other little programs like that. I mean, why not? It really, I would really assume that it would work out, that or that they should be doing that. And if anything, YouTube should be paying G4 since they're airing so many of their videos. But I just think that would really help G4 if they took the original content shows, Attack of the Show, Explain, Cheat, and aired them. Put them, maybe with or without commercials. I'm sure there's some way that they could make money through advertising. But they could put the whole shows on YouTube, and heck, even have YouTube advertise for them. And that would just do amazing. It would really help G4 in so many ways, bring in a lot more viewership, really make them in high demand, that sort of thing. Bring in a lot of people. So show-wise, the recent weeks they've been bringing Kristin Holt in more, and she's learning. She's doing pretty well, especially because they were practicing. I believe different ways they could work her. So they put her with Will O'Neill, they put her with Kevin, they put her with Olivia, and even with Zach. And she, she's got great personality. Reading the teleprompter, she's still a little stiff, but I think that it's because of live TV. And if you put me in front of the camera, right now this is this is somewhat easy because it's just I'm staring at the camera, but for her, she's staring at a camera, it's being held by a man and or manipulated by a cameraman, and she knows that on the other side of the camera are a couple million people watching, so it can be a little intimidating. So, but with time, with the practice, with experience, you get used to it. So, look at Olivia Munn. She started out pretty stiff, pretty unknowledgeable in the subject matter, but over the course of the year, and especially with, as she said, with Kevin Pereira's tutelage, she's learned the material. She knows what she's talking about now, and everybody is very proud of her in that respect. Especially the fans, because they have seen her grow and develop over the course of the year, and everybody is they're proud of her because she has achieved, she has learned, she has become one of us in a way. But it's more like she's come to represent. She realizes now that being the host of a show that deals with a certain subject matter, she kind of needs to address. She really needs to be able to identify and come across to that audience, and she does that. She does that very well, in my opinion. I think and The View basically helped her because. And I talk about it because she always mentions The View, and I think that's how she works in your pants. But I think that's the case, is that she's understood that there's an audience, and that the way you interact with the audience is that you kind of have to identify and even represent them. You have to, in some ways, feel as if you're a spokesman for that audience, and you represent their ideals, but also address their goals and opinions and ideals. And that's what Kevin would do, and that is why the big draw towards Attack of the Show is because you have a guy who is into technology and gaming and internet and stuff like that, and even pop culture, just what's going on around us, and he is interested in that stuff, and he knows, and he's able to add wit to the topics of conversation, what's going on around him, and that's what really makes the show sells, because they just look at what's going on around and they address those issues. And with comedy and also with some seriousness, and so you could also say the Daily Show seriousness, in that they take a serious subject and they kind of poke fun at it and they make some humor out of it, but it's you really understand why they're making fun of it. And they explain it, and sometimes they kind of half explain it, and because you already know the other half of the joke, or you already understand the basis for the joke. Let's see, something else with Olivia Munn. She recently, and this is something else I've kind of been bugging on the forums, message boards about, was that Olivia Munn doesn't really do too many skits. Like the most she had done was appear in a. Actually, she did two things, but there was a X-Play episode of like The Scariest Game, and she played a dead body, but then she appeared at the end, and she was missing an arm and a leg, and they actually worked it pretty well. But then they did the 1 week of behind the scenes, behind the camera of Attack of the Show, and it wasn't really too much about her. It was more about Kevin.